So is your kid playing basketball and you feel like they're doing a lot of stuff but they're not getting better? I made this episode for you. If you think that more games is the answer to your kid getting better at basketball, this episode is also for you. And I'm here to tell you I think that's wrong. And I'm not here to say this because I just want to criticize you and get on your case. I want your kid to gain the confidence that you say that they want. Every parent I talk to says, I want my kid to get more confidence. I want them to believe in themselves. Well, I want them to get that too. And I want them to look at you when they're playing basketball, when they're on the court and they look at you on the bleachers. I want them to see a face that looks like they're proud, like they enjoy watching a kid play versus another person that just looks like it's the worst thing in the world. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it, have this conversation, and let's help each other. Coach White here with SFBA Sports Performance, and I'm here to talk about how do we structure your weekly training program for your athlete, from their team practices, their training, their workout sessions, recovery days, game days, and how do we find a way to create some type of evaluation around that where we can track progress and see if what's happening is actually working. How do we create a stable amount of volume throughout the week and throughout the year that can lead up to a good amount of workout practice days and exercise days or training days that makes sense, so you're actually getting the things you're looking for. Full disclosure, talking about wasting time, I did this whole podcast episode just before this, and in that, I did not push the button on my recorder. So, with that being said, I completely wasted that time, and so I am doing this again. But with that being said, I've already practiced what I'm saying, so I'll try to make this episode faster. Number one, if your kid is playing basketball at the club level, I think that the reality is most kids are playing on too many teams. If your kid plays on multiple teams, I'm here to say I'm on the side where I think you're wrong. You can keep doing it, and that's fine. I'm just telling you I think that's wrong. That's just me. Do what you want to do with your kid. It's your family, and it's your decision. But I still think that's wrong. I think the constant games and tournaments and extra practices, I think at times doesn't lead to real training, recovery, and structure. I think there's too many voices your kid hears. I think there's too many different viewpoints that they get into. And I don't think that that's always a benefit to a player when they're being coached by different people at the same exact time. I think if you have some more consistency across the board in terms of messaging and what they're focusing on, you're going to get more returns for the time that you're giving. I think when we're looking at being busy for the sake of being busy because you think that's what makes you better, it doesn't. I think if you're busy but doing the right things, that's fine. But if you're just filling in time for the sake of filling in time and just running to somebody's practice for the sake of getting on the court, I think you're wasting your time on the road, you're wasting your gas, you're wasting your money, and you could have been applying that to something else that your kid really needs to develop. I think that if kids are playing a lot, they may not always gain understanding of how the game should be played because there's less instruction, and because when you give an added focus on gameplay and less of a focus on preparation, I don't see a lot of kids gain the information they need to be successful. And I see a lot of parents gain a lot of frustration. And then that leads to a lot of opinions and miscommunication between parents and coaches and arguments. And trust me, I've been there. So I think if you can limit the amount of teams your kid plays on to just the one team you think they get the most of the qualities that you believe in, then stick with that team. And then build around that. And then trim out all the other teams from that process. And you'll save yourself some money and time. I think why this happens is, number one, FOMO, fear of missing out. A lot of parents I've talked to have used this exact phrase. I'm afraid that I'm not doing enough. I'm afraid if I don't keep finding more things to do, my kid is going to fall behind. And although there are ways where your kid can fall behind, I think by doing too many things that are just random for the sake of doing it out of fear is the wrong way to go. If your kid is just playing on a bunch of teams because you feel like they just need to get on the court, number one, what are they learning? And I think also for parents, I think this is where your knowledge of basketball might need to expand as well, is what type of offense and defense is your kid learning on each of these teams? What instruction are they getting? What type of defense are they running? What is their philosophy in transition offense? What positions are they playing at? Just throwing information at kids without developing real mastery or understanding is not useful. It's confusing and it's a waste of time. If your kid's genuinely understanding everything that they're getting thrown at them and the knowledge is being taken in, it's understood, and you see it actually practiced and performed on the court in game day, then cool, your kid's awesome. But if you just see a bunch of confusion, you go from one team, your kid doesn't play that much. You go to another team, it's the same story. You feel like your kid just hasn't gotten it, but then you blame their effort, their energy. You might blame the coach for what they're teaching. You blame their other teammates. I got to tell you, you continue to throw yourself into a trap. That's all you're doing. There's no real help there. So I would say really just look at what it is that your kid needs and then focus on those things and trim out some of the extra stuff that you might feel like don't really apply the skill sets and the information that your kid needs to get better. I think there's a lot of social pressure from kids. They enjoy playing on multiple teams because it makes them feel good. The really good players, the really good players typically might have like a main basketball team, but they'll play for a bunch of other people too on the side because they're good. These coaches want to win games, and they'll gladly use your kid to play and win in a tournament to call themselves special. And so there's some type of social like currency that I think kids get from that when they go back to school. Like, oh, I got to play on this team, or I played with this program, or I did this, or I played over here. And it kind of makes them feel good. So other kids see that, and they want to gain that social currency as well. And there's something I think as adults we have to understand that like kids will want things, but as adults we have to understand what's necessary and what's not. And I think when we just cater to kids that just want to play basketball this weekend, they just want to play. Number one, understand, is this hindering their ability to get better? Is it interfering with our structure we have already in terms of rest, recovery? Is it taking away from our development? And number two, is it taking away from somebody else's opportunity that plays on that team that you don't actually play for? Like, I'm pretty sure most parents have been on teams where they felt like, we don't do this. So if you play for us, you play for us. I don't borrow players. I'm not like taking some kid on this weekend to play for us here. If you play for our team, for our AAU team, then that's it. Our players are not allowed to play for somebody else's program while they play for us during the season. If they do, I remove them from the roster, and they're gone. I've had to do that, unfortunately, to a few families who said they didn't know, but they do know. Like, let's not lie about it. You knew exactly what you were doing. You just ran the risk of being caught or not. So if you feel like your kid is developing from one program, stick to that program, and then build your development around what your kid learned from that program versus trying to dip into a bunch of other things and just add more confusion. I think if we're looking at the cost of this, number one, let's get down to it. This is money. Like, this is not cheap. You're going to spend a lot of money, and if you're going to pay all this money, you're typically going to be either really happy with the progress or really upset with the lack of progress. But I would ask you, before you even spend the money on your kid playing for a club basketball team, do you, mom, dad, do you believe your kid is one of the best players when they walk into the gym during tryouts? Do you believe, without a doubt, if my kid goes in there, they're definitely going to be one of the best players, and they have a great shot to earn a starting spot on the roster? If you can't say that, I don't think your kid should have gone to tryouts. I don't think you should have paid the money for tryouts. If it costs, we charge for our tryouts. Number one, it makes sure that anybody showing up is here to try out. This isn't an open run, so don't just waste our time. Number two, it costs money for this. We have to rent the gyms. Our coaches still get paid for this. Like, there's still, like, there's logistics that go around it. So no, our tryouts are not free. And if you think it should be, that's your opinion. But I don't do that no more, because I don't want people wasting my time by just coming into scrimmage and then having no real intention on trying to make one of our teams. So it narrows it down to people that actually want to be here versus people that want to waste our time. So if your kid is going to try out, believe that they're one of the best players. And if you're invited to join that team, ask as many questions as possible. Like, hey, how does the team look? What do you think about my kid? What's your philosophy? Like, get to know the coach. I would welcome any parent asking me a bunch of questions about the team, about who I believe is going to be on our roster, what type of system I like to run offensively and defensively, how I structure things, what I've done in the past, who am I as a coach. I would love that. And then if you believe that all that fits, then, you make your payments. But do so believing you have a clear expectation, understanding that your kid is ready for this moment and that they can compete to earn a roster spot and get some playing time. So you feel like you're not going to a tournament and wasting your time. I hear a lot of parents go up to the kids, you wasted our time and our money doing this. We drove all this way and I spent all this gas money to get you here. It's like, well, a lot of times when I hear parents say that, their kids aren't that good at basketball. So you made the choice to put your kid in an environment that was highly competitive. And now you're relying on them to try to get you returns on your investment when you made a poor investment to begin with. You probably could have put that time and money and less money into just getting them ready and develop first, allowing them to develop their skills and their IQ knowledge of the game. So when you showed up to a tryout, it wasn't a guessing game. You weren't hoping the coaches took their kid because he works really hard. Like, I hear parents tell me that all the time. Yeah, my kid works super hard. I'm like, that's great. There's a lot of hard workers in this world, but not everybody does the work that's required for them to be successful with the task that's required. And if your kid is ready, then the money shouldn't be an issue. But when you start putting that on your child, you know, did you fully believe that they have the mental capability to focus and compete in this environment? Do you fully believe they have the athletic ability to compete and perform in this environment? Do you fully believe they have the skill sets to execute what's needed in this environment? Do you believe they have the knowledge to go ahead and see what's happening and make the right decisions in this environment? If you don't believe those things, then your kid shouldn't play AU basketball. You're like, well, coach, I need to find a team that helps my kid learn and play. Yes, we still teach the game, but we're not teaching from scratch. Club basketball, AU, is more designed for the really good players to play against really good teams and then see which team comes out on top. Not for the kid that's just figuring it out to play against a team that already knows what they're doing. That's a recipe for disaster. So if your kid is going to get into club basketball, don't use the excuse, we paid all this money. Well, did you know what you were buying? Did you know your kid was ready? And again, for me, I don't take kids and invite them to the roster if I don't think I'm going to play them. I've had kids before, and I used to be the coach where I'm like, if everybody shows up and works hard, we can get this whole team working together. And I come to find out that's the biggest myth in the world. Number one, your really good kids and really good families will leave because they feel the other players aren't ready. The players that are at the bottom will get frustrated, and they might quit because they don't get playing time. The kids in the middle are kind of like going either direction. Some might get better, some might get worse. You go to a tournament, like we went to a tournament in Reno one time, and we're playing, and we're in a pretty close game. And I got one kid that I didn't play that much. Great kid, worked hard, wasn't in the best of shape, but I would look over at him. I'm like, I want to get him in the game. And I just see his face, like, he's kind of got those tears coming in a little bit, but he doesn't cry. And at that moment, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I have to, I ended up cutting him at the end of the season. I told him, I was like, hey, you've been great on our teams, and I appreciate your effort and energy. But here's a reality. Like, as you guys continue to get older, this isn't going to get easier. When you were younger, I could find spots for you, but now that you're getting older, like, I don't want to look over and see your face look like that and knowing that I can't use you in the game because you're not ready for it. So I had to understand that as a coach. I can't just take kids because I believe in their effort. Although that's a part of it. If you're physically, skill-wise, your IQ, if most of that doesn't exist, I'm not going to take you. Because if that doesn't develop, I'm not going to play you. If I don't play you, I get blamed for your kid not playing. And your parent comes up to me, he's like, we paid all this money and, we expected this. I was like, well, yeah, you did pay for him to come over here. But number one, if your kid's not developing, not understanding it, I do take some responsibility with that. But I'm not going to play them for the sake of playing them. So know what you're getting into. Know what the cost is going towards. And then if you feel like it's a good investment, then yeah, the money's worth it. But if it's not, at some point, parents, you have to put some of that responsibility on you too. So, solution. Cool. I told you I was going to give you something, a framework to kind of help you. Now that we've kind of gone through the good, the bad, the worst, the ugly, let's talk about what we can do here. I'll break it down from our program. Our program has 2 practices a week for 90 minutes each. Plus, we have an athletic performance workout either just before or just after your practice, depending on which team you are. So if you have a team practice, it's 90 minutes, then you have your workout session right after. And most of it's like body weight stuff, isometric, eccentric work. We'll do some agility and speed training as well within an hour frame. That'll be twice a week. So 7 days a week, that's 2 days down, you have 5 more. You can have 2 other days. I know some of our players have one-on-one trainers. No problem with that. You can see those trainers twice a week. I would suggest seeing those trainers the days after your practice days. Reason being, you just had a practice. Everything is fresh in your mind. The things you worked on, the offensive actions and flows you guys got into, the things you struggled with in practice, the things you were successful with, you can give that information to your trainer, and then hopefully they can take that information, apply it to their training session, so everything you focus on with them can help support you for the team that you're playing on. Your training session goes for about an hour, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. After that, stack that day with a strength training session. Reason being is this, you're probably like, but won't they be tired? Probably, but here's the thing. You want to be fresh on your practice days because you're going game speed, you're working, you're running, you're cutting, you want to perform like it's a game experience. Your training sessions should still kind of mirror that game speed environment. You might be able to slow things down, work on technique and footwork and everything else, but you still want to get to points where that training session really resembles speed and intensity that you'll mimic in a game. Strength training is slower. When I'm trying to get stronger, I'm not lifting fast. Yes, you might have phases throughout the year where strength training is more based on power and explosiveness. But for the most part, when you're strength training, they're slower, deliberate, controlled movements. The risk of outside forces hitting you, like somebody bumping you and fouling you while you're doing a squat, isn't there, right? So you're taking your time more. You're more concerned about the movement quality with your lift, how much you're lifting, how you lift it. And then after about an hour, you go home. And if you do that, it leaves you with the next day to be a rest and recovery day. It can be an active rest day where you're doing things like some soft tissue work, like foam rolling, or doing, I have those regen boots where it's like those compression boots where it kind of like squeezes with air pressure and releases. We're trying to get some more blood flow for recovery. You can spend time working on things you need for school. So say, for example, if you have an exam coming up in a few days, you can do a little more time in terms of studying and prepping for that, so you don't have to like stack that on top of a practice night and have to like say, hey coach, I have to miss today because I have to study for a test tomorrow. Well, you should have picked the day during the week where you could have gotten extra studying time in to make sure you're prepped, and then done something to make sure you can do some review instead of having to do like an all-nighter. But again, that comes down to structuring your time properly. And then after that, you can do it again. So you can have your practice day, and the next day can be your training, your basketball training, and then your strength training, and the next day can be your recovery day. And then if you have your next day can be your practice day again, and then you have your one-on-one training again, and then maybe that day can be like your game day, and then Sunday can be your recovery day. If you're playing multiple games in a day, probably playing 2 games one day, 1 game the next day, and then the rest of the day just use it as recovery. But I think if you structure that out, think of the amount of volume you can get. Like let's put some numbers to this. And if there's 365 days in the year, if there's 365, we're looking at, that means if you practice out of the 52 weeks twice a week, 104 days, you have practice days. If you do strength training and one-on-one training on the same day, on 2 other days, that's also 104. So now you're looking at 208 days, where it's a combination of team practices and one-on-one training and strength training. And then that means that out of that, you've got 157 days that are going to be a combination of recovery or game days. And hopefully you're not playing every single weekend. But if that's the case, you want to make sure you still have a significant amount of days where you can still allow for some recovery. And I think a lot of times we try to fill in that 157 window gap right there with extra stuff and more stuff because we just feel like we're going to be behind. When in reality, it's the recovery that makes you better. You think of strength training, and when you go into the gym, and for anybody that goes to the gym and works out and has like a really like a tough workout day, and you hit your max lifts and you went crazy, you just kept repping them out, and you leave the gym, you're like, man, that was awesome, it's great, but your body feels like crap. You're sore everywhere, everything hurts, you're kind of wobbling, you feel like you lost sensation in your legs, but you're like, man, that was a great leg day. Like if you had to perform anything athletic, or if somebody wanted to fight you that moment, you'd fail. Like you wouldn't be able to do it because your body is damaged at that point. When you strength train and you really put your body through the work, there's damage that takes place. It's the recovery from the damage you put your body through during strength training that makes you stronger, right? And if you can repeat that process consistently, that's when you're going to see results. So if your athlete can mirror some of that when it comes down to basketball development, you have your practice day on Monday. You have your one-on-one training and strength training days on Tuesday. And you have your recovery day on Wednesday. Then you have your practice day on Thursday. You have your one-on-one and strength training days on Friday. And then maybe, you have games on a Saturday or Sunday. But one of those days has less games, so you can try to treat the rest of the day as recovery. Then you can get in more consistent volume. But if you're going back and forth and playing on some more teams, you're getting extra practice, where's the recovery day involved? And at what point are you able to really perform your best at each and every one of those sessions? If you're going to every practice feeling half of what you should be, or 3/4 of what you should be, then you're not going to perform at your best. If you're missing and you're saying, I need more of these team practices, and you're skipping strength training, then physically you're not allowing the body to build any type of like recovery or maintenance to withstand the amount of demand you're putting on it. You're breaking the kid down. I drive an hour to get to work and an hour back if there's no traffic. If there's traffic, it's like an hour and a half. If I never did anything other than put gas in my car, at some point, my transportation will no longer be reliable to get me to work and get me home every day. That's what you're doing to your kids when you just keep them going out there and playing in more practices and more games and ignoring the things like strength training and recovery days to keep their body ready for the demands that you keep placing on it. And if you ignore that, you're putting them in a position to fail. And then that's when you're going to become frustrated and then blame a bunch of outside sources and then look at the amount of money you're spending and say, hey, was this worth it? Well, no, because you didn't structure it the right way. So I know your practices may not be like that. You might have them on different days. Hopefully what this does is it just gives you a structure, a framework that you can play around with and maybe figure out what works, what doesn't. If your kid plays on multiple teams, which teams do they not need to play for? Which team or which program offers the most of what you're looking for? And then figure out the hierarchy that you want to apply those objectives to. Number two, if they're working with a one-on-one trainer or going to training sessions, find out which days those work out the best. I have a few kids that work with a trainer, and he wanted to see film of our players. And I also had a chance to give him some feedback on things I thought that they need to focus on. I love that. I really wish more families would do that and would open up that window between coaches and trainers so that when they are working with athletes, it can help support the things they're doing on the team versus throwing random skills at them. So if I can apply all that, I feel like at the end of the year, if your kid is playing 12 months out of the year for 52 weeks, that you're going to have an athlete that is way better than anything you could have ever imagined. I think you're going to have an athlete that has way more confidence. It also allows you, because you're consistent with what you're doing, to really track for progress. If your athlete is consistently doing strength training 2 or 3 times a week, you can really start to see what's working, what's not. If your athlete is going to practices consistently, and if it's mirrored by the training that you're getting, you can see what's working, what's not. And you can check for learning. And if everybody is consistently involved in this process, from your coaches to your trainers to your strength training coaches, then it's easier to have conversations to see, hey, how's it going? How are they getting better? What do they need to work on? Oh, we had an injury. Cool, let me adjust what I'm doing. And there's more consistency in communication. So again, hopefully this helps out. Again, not to criticize people, although I know it can sound like it, but more to offer a perspective that I think a lot of people might miss. Instead of guessing, I want to help people create more of a structure so your kid can become confident like you're asking us as coaches to help your kids build. And then you can get the returns on the investment that you're putting into your kid. And they can look at you when they're playing and feel like my mom and dad, they're proud of me. That's a joy that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration. What does your kid look at when they see you? If they see you and you look disgusted, that's going to bring them down. If they see you and you're just like excited, that can change the world. So anyways, Coach White here, SFBA Sports Performance. I'm going to get out of here and I'll check y'all later. Peace.